Some women are waiting longer to have babies these days. According to the Centers for Disease Control, 1 in 5 women are waiting until they're 35 or older to have their first child. Just how does waiting impact fertility? SDSU Psychology professor and author Jean Twenge examined this question in her newest book, The Impatient Women's Guide to Getting Pregnant. Also joining me is Dr. Sanjay Agarwal, clinical professor and director of fertility services at UC San Diego. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Jean, why did you want to tackle this subject?
Well, when I started trying to have my first child, we were 34, so we were right at that edge. And I started reading everything I could get my hands on, but I'm a researcher, so I wanted to go back to the original source, the original medical journal articles. And I found a lot of really interesting information there about fertility and age, that it wasn't actually as scary as you might have thought, and also just some great information to try to get pregnant faster, some good tips on that. Started sharing it with my friends, and then thought, hey, I can reach even more people by writing a book on it.
I want to talk about what you learned, but first of all, doctor, now according to the CDC, we have another stat here. It's tougher for a woman to get pregnant and stay pregnant after the age of 35. About 1/3 of couples in which the woman is older than 35 will have fertility problems. What happens to women and fertility after 35?
Well, women are born with all their eggs, and with time that number goes down. And as the number of eggs goes down, their fertility goes down. And that's what eventually leads to menopause in the 50s. And I don't want you to make it sound like it's a cliff or it's a black and white situation. Fertility goes down gradually, and then from the mid-30s, 35, 36, 37, fertility goes down a bit quicker.
So, Jean, in your book, there's an interesting sort of this list of myths, right, that you were busting. And you did say that the off-cited statistic that 1/3 of women over 35 will have fertility issues is based on birth records from the 1700s. Is that true?
It really is, yeah. So if you go and trace back the origin of that statistic, it comes from a human reproduction article. It's a good journal. But yeah, that's where the data come from. We don't have enough good data on natural conception, so a lot of times the biggest studies are from historical birth records. But of course, things are a little different now. We've got modern medicine. People live a lot longer. They're healthier, and that's not going to completely change the fact that fertility goes down as women age. But more recent studies have found more optimistic statistics. They suggest more like 82% or so of women will be pregnant after a year, even if they're over 35.
So really, doctor, the CDC stat that I threw out there, that's not a good number?
It's a little high. I don't want to be too depressing for your population. But, you know, it really depends on you. If you succeed, you're in the 100% that succeeded. If you didn't succeed, you're in the 100% that didn't. So that's why we recommend 6 months of trying when you're over 35, 12 months if you're younger, so you don't spend too long before seeking help.
Do you think that perhaps women are rushing to fertility specialists sooner than they need to? And I'm going to toss that out to both of you, and let's start with you, Jean.
I think it does happen sometimes. I think sometimes they wait too long as well. You read infertility blogs, and women will say, you know, we tried for 3 years before we saw a doctor, and I wish we had gotten help sooner. Yet there are some who maybe will try for 3 months and then rush to get treated for infertility, and that's probably too soon. So I think 6 months is a great happy medium.
It's common for us to tell patients to try a little longer, and when they have difficulty, a year for younger individuals, 6 months after 35, I think it's best for them to see their OBGYNs, their primary care physicians, because these people can also do a lot of investigations and basic treatments. Not everyone needs to see a reproductive endocrinologist.
We know, though, there are going to be increased risks as you get older. Do you think that we're having the discussion that young women today, or even not so young women, are having this discussion that there could be perhaps some medical price or even, you know, real price to pay by delaying childbirth or delaying pregnancy? That there is this assumption that we can wait and wait and wait and wait and then just see a doctor?
Well, I think some people may have that, but most of the women who I interviewed for the book came down on the other side. They were very concerned about this, very much wanted to have children, were worried they had already waited too long and so on, and were really relieved to hear that, well, yes, it might take longer, your fertility does decline as you get older, but that doesn't mean you won't be able to get pregnant.
What do you think, doctor?
Well, I think not everyone's in the right place to have a child earlier either.
Exactly.
In terms of careers, relationships, you know. Undoubtedly, I think women feel the pressure greater than men do. And you need a couple usually, so that's not always the situation. So if they are in a stable relationship and having children is a part of that for them, then certainly from a medical standpoint it makes sense to consider this earlier than later.
Okay, Jean, where can people find out more about your book?
Well, I have a website, impatientwoman.com, and I'll also be signing books at Warwick's on Wednesday night at 7:30, so Warwick's Bookstore in La Jolla.
Great. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.